I know, like I had few questions in my head, but now I have different questions. So here's the thing. So you spoke so much about like physical health, right? Like, okay, this is how we can have dental and preventative care. Like, can you even predict something about mental health by dental?
You know, I mean, we do know that the bacteria in the mouth uh, does get to the brain and impacts the brain because we know about the Alzheimer's, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that when you think about dentistry, we're so young in the profession compared to like the medical profession, right? So
Hmm.
maybe that might be also why people are always like, oh, are they a doctor or not, right? Because medicine's been around for a lot longer than dentistry. So, for instance, really, I think it's around like 1886 was the first dental kind of even like thought of it. And then think about it. It wasn't, I don't know, I can't remember the dates offhand, but I know for hygiene. So the first hygiene school in the United States was in 1914, and that was Dr. Phones, and that was up north. And so that one, so when you think about that, 1914 was when we started thinking, hey, we should clean our teeth, right? So we're really young in the profession compared to medicine. So I think that there's still so much that we're learning because I mean, it was only really in the last 20 years that it's been, hey, maybe your mouth is connected to your body. I mean, it is wrapped in a part of your head, close to your brain. Maybe we should think about it. That maybe something in your mouth. Oh yeah, and all that whatever's in your mouth is then going down your stomach, right? Down your esophagus into your stomach and then going out to the rest of your body. So maybe we should think about it. And two, it's this other thing that people think that like bleeding gums is normal. Bleeding gums is not normal. I always tell people, I say, or ask people, hey, if you brushed your hair and your scalp bled, would you be concerned? Hell yeah, you would. Think about it. If you were brushing your hair and your scalp was bleeding, wouldn't you be like, what's going on here? Right? But people don't because there's been this myth that, oh, bleeding gums is just normal and it's okay. Um, but it's not. It's a sign that you have that infection and you have something going on. So you should listen to it. Um, and that's where, like saliva testing and things like that too would also help because then we could figure out what type of bacteria. And that's where dentistry is going now, is where we can actually like test for things like that because we didn't really have that technology until most recently, right? Where we could test for all these things. And that's where I was saying, like, it's easier to look in your mouth than it is other places because you know, but that's only just recently, and I think you're going to see more and more testing that way, um, because we're just getting the technology to be able to do it. Because nobody
Got
really thought about, oh yeah, the mouth is part of the body, and so
it.
now when they figured that out, now they're like, oh shit, now we got to figure out what ways we can test and be able to utilize this to our advantage. And I think that you'll see lots of things change. I've done some testing on, tried out a couple different saliva testing things and, even pH. That's something I was just in, well, I was just in Houston, but I thought I was in Dallas. And then I realized, so I went to, um, last week I went to Houston, but I really thought I was going to Dallas. I don't know what I was thinking. So when I get to
How did you?
Houston, I'm like, I'm in Dallas and this is where I got to go. And the lady's like, no, you're in Houston.
Wait. How did you end up in Houston? And tell me what happened there. How did you end up in a complete different
No,
city?
no, no. I was supposed to go to Houston, but in my head, I kept thinking that I was going to Dallas because I thought the company that we were doing work with was in Dallas. That's just where I thought they were headquartered. Now, don't ask me why I never thought about I was flying into Houston because it wasn't called Houston. I flew into whatever their airport there, but it's not called Houston. It's called like Hobby or something. Yeah, it's Hobby. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, it's
So,
I was in Houston last week, so I know.
oh, you were? Well, I was in Houston too. Um, but it was Hobby. So I just Hobby Houston, I just, I didn't really, and then I don't know if I was thinking, I don't know how I got Dallas. I just swore Forward Science was in Dallas. Needless to say, even so much so that I thought I called a friend who lives in Dallas before I left to ask her what the weather was. So it was like a legit. And when I landed, I posted on my Instagram that I had just landed in Dallas, and Rob, who's the owner of Forward Science, I had tagged him in it, and he goes, "I hope you're not in Dallas." So and that's cool that you were in Houston too. What were you doing in Houston?
I was in Houston. I drove all the way from
Oh, I think I
Boca.
remember you saying this that night we were at. You did. You told us that.
Yes, so I drove to Dallas to meet my nephew, my cousin's son. He was turning one. And then from there, I was supposed to go to Austin, but my plans got dropped. And my buddy from Maine, he came down to Houston for a concert. So we were in Houston Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days.
All right. I was just there for Thursday, Friday. I was in and
Yeah,
out pretty much.
nice.